All right, hello chick chatters. We are back with episode 3 of Love is Blind, Blindside. So we start off with a JP and Taylor's reveal, and it was cute. It seems like Taylor was a little bit taken aback at first by him. It seemed a little bit awkward.
Yeah, it did.
No.
But they did kiss right away, so it couldn't. I don't know. Maybe she's just more comfortable with like intimacy and things like that. But I mean, they kissed like 3 or 4 times right away, so I think they were excited to see each other. Obviously, there's some kind of like genuine love there, but there was like really quickly an awkward silence too, and it seems like they've talked about that before because she said out loud, she's like, it's getting quiet and I don't like that or something like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But they, again, like they're open about like they have a long road to go on still getting to know each other. So not our best reveal, definitely not our worst either. So.
No, that will forever go to Zach and Irina. So
forever.
So then they kind of cut to all the people in the girls and guys rooms. They cut to Stacy, and she's reading this horrible poem she wrote for Izzy. And it's so funny.
No wonder she's not like emotionally vulnerable with people. I don't think there's really much there, like not in a mean way. I think she's just a fun person. I don't think her emotions are that deep.
And then they kind of cut to the guys, and Izzy randomly breaks into push-ups, and at some point I know Stacy randomly goes into a handstand, so I'm like, these people probably are made for each other.
They are. They remind me very much of like Shane and Shayna. So I don't know, maybe we'll get like our Shane and Shayna love story after all.
The one we deserved. But then they show him meeting with Stacy, and she tells him finally kind of how she's feeling, and they both get a little bit deeper. He does tell her that he needs her to get deeper, so they both get a little bit deeper, and he seems pretty satisfied with their date.
Yeah, baby steps. I think that's what she says too. It's like has to be a slow build for her. So
the fact that they got a little bit deep but not all the way deep, that's probably what he needs in comparison to his last date in the last episode with Johnny. So you're seeing now the comparison between the two and how he conducts himself in the differences between the two. He gets very overwhelmed, it seems like, when a lot is given to him at once, even though he's asking for it. And with Stacy, he's asking for it, but she's only giving him what she wants to give him, what she's ready to give him, and he seems to cling to that a little bit better.
Yeah, he's a slow drip, slow build kind of guy. I think Stacy is that for him.
Yeah, he just might not realize he's a slow drip guy.
Right, because he's like real energetic, so he probably thinks he can take on like more than he really can. That's probably why he's attracted to like the Johnnies, but he really needs a Stacy. Then we get to Aaliyah and Uche, and they're having kind of a lighter date because they have been through the ringer. And I feel like they should have just got engaged like way early on, and maybe they could have skipped all of this heartache. But I do also think that they're taking their engagement really seriously, and they are getting to know each other as much as they need to. And these are important conversations to have. I'm not doubting that. Aaliyah says that she is she's a weenus grabber. She also says that she eats Splenda packets and honey. And I died. I did not catch this the first watch, but the second watch, Uche says, "Are you Winnie the Pooh?" Yeah. Like, what? I actually loved that. Like, Uche cracking a joke. It was so good.
She just is doing all these weird confessions, hoping that he'll do the same. But she admits to peeking in the shower. And she's like, if you're taking a shower, I'm going to peek in on you.
Yeah, I think everybody does that. But I don't know. Uche wants to charge her for those looks. So
she's asking Uche, though, to say some weird things. And the only thing he can say is that he's OCD. I swear to you, when he was describing his OCD, like, I just like to put things in certain spaces and go around and do that. Dean's face. He's like, what a good guy.
Good guy, my kind of man.
But yeah, he was talking about picture hanging and how he needs to straighten out pictures and stuff. And to me, like, yes, I guess it's a weird thing about you, but that wasn't really the category I think she was going for. I think she wanted more weird. Because that's like a problem everybody likes.
Right. Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe Uche's not weird. Like, he seems so buttoned up. There's no weirdness to him.
Yeah.
Even his weirdness is like, I need to make things neat. Stop it.
That's all we get from Uche, and then we go over to Milton and Lydia, and he gets her this bee, and she's like, what's this about? She's very animated, and he gets it for her because it's her favorite color. I didn't really get his reasoning either, but
yeah, I didn't get it. She got him a drink, though. She got him a Manhattan, which apparently is his favorite drink, and then he asked her, what are you drinking? And she said, like, Malibu and, like, juice or something. And I, like, died because in my head, right away, I was like, what are you, like, 20? And he said it, like, the exact way. And I was like, oh, that's so funny. And he kind of, like, has this funny banter with her about their age and says, like, how does it feel to date someone more mature than you or something like that. But then he brings it right back to being 24 by saying that he plays competitive Pokemon.
Guys who play games will play games forever. It doesn't matter what age they are. So him being 24 has nothing to do with his playing of games. They've been doing it since they were probably 9 years old, and they'll do it till they're 90. So
it's true. It's so true.
Milton starts kind of getting a little bit more serious. He starts asking her more serious questions. She tells him that she does have 2 degrees, which I was pretty impressed with Lydia, and that she was a restaurant manager. And I could totally see her as a restaurant manager.
Totally.
We also get a little bit more about Milton. He talks about when he was a kid. He got scoliosis tested, and they told him that his spine was all messed up. So it was pretty much collapsing on itself, and he was having organ failure, so they had to do an emergency surgery, and he did live through that, but he says that he's scared that one day his back will give out and he will become paralyzed, and she immediately is stopping him right there. She's going to be there for him. She's going to do everything. She's a very passionate person.
Right. So. And I get that she wants to, like, console him right away. She doesn't want him to even for a second, like, question if she would be there for him, but I think she needs to give him a moment, at least to hear out what his concerns are before trying to console his concerns. I get that she's so passionate that she believes it really doesn't matter, but I think he at least needs to say them out loud to her before she gets to work at saying that it's going to be okay. Because she does. She just cuts him off like, will you let me talk? I'm like, will you let him talk?
Then he kind of gets into this. At first I thought he was saying this because of his whole injury and everything. But he says that he doesn't think he's going to live very long. And she kind of gets very serious again. And he says, you know, because statistically, and I thought it was going to have to do with his spine stuff. And then he says, men my height. And I was like, oh my God.
I laughed too. I don't know if that's mean, but like this man just said he was too tall to live a long life.
Because I thought it was going to have to do with the actual thing he was talking about to begin with. Totally. So I was starting to feel really bad. I was like, oh, wow, what if he doesn't have very long and that's why he's doing this? And he's just like, because, you know, statistically men my height don't live very long. And I'm like, is that... I mean, it could be a real thing, but what?
Maybe we're short, so we're just not informed of the risks of being tall.
We're way too short for that.
I don't know.
Way too short for those risks.
Comment below if you know more than we do about the subject.
Then we go to Johnny, and she's meeting up with Izzy. And the second she's even getting in this room with her, she always has this little stack of stuff, but with her little stack of stuff getting ready to settle in, she's all, you know, ready to start over from the day before. She thinks that was kind of a fluke and that, you know, like maybe he just needed time to process. And Izzy's just sitting there with his legs shaking, like not sure what to do. Yeah. Thinking that he's ready, I think, to just let her go. Like he's just legs shaking, ready for something. She gets in there and he just openly starts comparing the 2 connections that he has. He wants to compare the connection with her to the connection with Stacy. He starts saying really nice things about her and how they got very deep and how he enjoys that. He likes that they're both kind of damaged people and they can bond over being damaged people. And then he just kind of says Stacy came out of nowhere and is now more connected to her. And then he listed off all these great things about Stacy, how they have a lot of fun, they play games together. And he says that quotes, "That girl knows me so well through a wall." And we didn't really see that much of that, so I don't know if that's just editing. You know, she then counters it with, "Well, that was my relationship with Chris, and Chris was the safe choice. I don't believe in going for your safe choice, your fear-based choice, because yeah, I could see how that relationship would work, but you're not really getting deep. Games, we could be playing games outside of here. That's not really how we should be spending our time here." She kind of downplays their connection because it's based off of games and not real conversations.
And I could see how for somebody like her that wouldn't be enough. But again, I don't know. I just see it with Izzy and Stacy. She's trying to kind of convince him at this point, and it doesn't really feel very good. She's not wrong. Like there's different ways to spend your time in the pods. Playing games is probably like honestly the least productive, but for Izzy and Stacy it does just seem to work, and he is drawn to that. So I don't know. Johnny says she's not going to settle anymore, and he ends it basically.
Yeah, she asks him if he's ending things with her, and he says yeah. She just starts walking out immediately, and she wants to go home because she had already given up her choice with Chris. The wheels started turning for Johnny at that moment, that, you know, she gave up a different connection for this guy, and then this guy dropped her the moment she got very real with him. Because she did open up about this ex and this issue, and it seems like right after that, Izzy seemed to have deepened his connection with Stacy enough to kind of move on. So
yeah, she said that he pretty much ran. So this is where the title comes in. She says, I think either in a confessional or to somebody in the living quarters, that she feels blindsided, that she goes for emotionally unavailable people, and she's noticing the pattern coming up, that maybe she was actually following that pattern with Izzy. I don't know what Johnny's gonna do now. I mean, she seems like she wants to go home. But I mean, Chris is still there, and the show is about like finding a connection. I understand there's kind of like a bad omen, I guess, around like your second connection and going with that, but I don't hold it against people on this show. I mean, it's a really like time compressed sort of thing. So I would like to at least see them have a conversation again.
This is where Johnny though confuses me, is where she says that, well, before she always did her safe choice, and now she's always done the risky choice. So like, which one is it? And it seems like based off of her ex story, she normally does the risky choice. Maybe she married the safe choice. I'm very...
That's what I think it is. I think that Chris is probably her ex. When she says she can see your like my life in the future, I think she can see it because she's probably lived it. I think she's been choosing safe choices since the person she dated who was an addict, because he was like the wild choice, but that was the choice with love. And then the safe choices, she's never actually like been in love. So I think that that's what she's trying to communicate to people, but it is becoming like really muddled and muddy and hard to follow.
Izzy meets up with Stacy, and he tells Stacy about him breaking it off with Johnny, and he just tells her a bunch of great things about her, how he feels like it's just effortless with her, like he came in there on cloud 9. And Stacy at first seemed just a little bit standoffish in a way, like she wasn't really expecting that. She seemed to kind of be a little bit more like about it.
Yeah, but she's like slow to warm up a little.
So Izzy asks her if she's ready to say I love you, and she says she's getting there, but she's just not there yet. She's very straight to the point with that. You can kind of see the look on Izzy's face kind of go from excited to like,
yeah. I'm a little worried for him at this point, to be honest.
He seems to need a lot of affirmation.
Yes, that too. And I do believe in the Izzy and Stacy connection, but I'm wondering now if Stacy has a hard time with love. Like the word love, with being in love. I think it's this date or a date around here where she says like her body's not used to feeling these emotions, basically. So I don't know, like, is he falling for two women who have like these complexes about falling in love? I think he thought Stacy had a little less baggage, but I don't know. Something is weird to me about I get when you need time to fall in love, of course, but I don't know. Something's weird to me about that.
He seems to like two halves of a whole. Like Stacy's the fun person he wants, and then there's Johnny, who's got the more serious side. But you know, when Johnny was falling too fast, he was standoffish, and now that it's him coming in and being like, I'm so in love with you, she's not ready. But I think she would get there. She's just saying that her body's not conditioned for this energy right now. It's just a lot. But in the same dress that Johnny got broken up with, she decides to crawl right back to Chris and have a conversation with him. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
She really switched her tune on Chris. Because it seemed like she was low-key bad talking him after she decided it wasn't a thing. She kept saying that their connection was more like a friendship, that she picks him because he would be the safe choice, but the safe choice isn't always the right choice. Like, she kind of really started painting him more in a negative light instead of it being more positive. She meets up with him and she pleads her case to him, and he seems to kind of start going for it. He wants to think about it.
I think he says, like, he does say, I want you, but I want to make sure, like, that you want me. She doesn't really reassure him. She just asks, like, are we ready to get engaged? It's like, I don't think y'all are ready, though.
It made me wonder if she just really wanted to stay on the show and like see Izzy later or something, because
yeah,
I don't know. I felt like there was something afoot there, that it was just weird.
I'm not gonna lie, at that point you're invested. You were just yesterday talking to two men who you thought you could get engaged with, and now you're considering the possibility that you might go home alone. She probably may have been feeling desperate. I'm not saying her connection with Chris isn't real, but she did make a choice just yesterday not to be with him. So
he very rarely needs to think about it. He goes back to the guys' chamber and he talks to Izzy, and he wants a little bit more information about this whole breakup. And Izzy tells him the complete opposite of what Johnny told Chris. She told Chris that the safe choice is something she's not used to, so she is afraid to choose the safe choice, but she's ready now. And what she told Izzy is that she's always done the safe choice and that it's not worth it. She doesn't feel anything there. It's just not a passionate connection. It's basically the complete opposite from what Chris heard, and he's taking that into account.
She has these men so confused about each other and who they are to her and where they stand and what it all means. And I don't know. Again, I think, like we kind of acknowledged earlier, she sees Chris as her ex-husband. She sees Izzy obviously not as someone who has an addiction, but someone she can have maybe like a more passionate, like explosive love for. And I think both of those things are patterns for her that she's trying to break, but she's explained it to them obviously in different ways. They're having a hard time reconciling it with each other. I thought it was kind of funny, but it's also not good news for Johnny. I think that left a really bad taste in both of those guys' mouths. Obviously, Izzy is already kind of done with the situation, but
I do think it affirmed to him though why he's done with that situation.
So then we see Aaliyah and Lydia kind of cuddled up on the couch together. Aaliyah is always terrified. I think love scares her, but also her and Uche have been through a lot, so she's probably just like traumatized right now. So Lydia is, as usual, like comforting and consoling her on the couch. And Aaliyah does say, like, he told me he can't see a future without me. And Lydia looks shocked and scared, and I don't know, she has this face and she's like, really, he said that? Wow. And I was like, that doesn't seem like excited for your friend, but
yeah, okay. She looked shook a little bit.
She did. So then we go into Aaliyah and Uche's date, and he writes her a pretty good poem. I think he gives some legitimacy to his poetry there.
Uche says he decides he wants to be very honest with her, and he admits to her that he had found somebody in the pods on one of the first days that he has actually dated before, and he figured this out because they knew a lot about him. And she asks who it was, and he tells her Lydia, and that's how they end the episode, on that little cliffhanger. So
it's Lydia.
It's Lydia. So now a lot of Lydia's little side comments and just the way she's been behaving really line up. They really make sense. Because if Lydia is an ex of Uche's, then everything she's been doing so far has been very weird in a way. She's
like calculated almost. Like, I don't know, right? We still have to see what they have to say for themselves because this bomb was really just dropped on us. And I tell you, my jaw dropped. as soon as he said, like, I knew it was going to be bad because he's been waiting, obviously, to say this, but I really was not expecting this.
Oh, when he said that he was dating somebody else, I knew it was going to be Lydia, because I was like, there's no way that their relation, that this weird relationship is going on now.
Yeah, because I was even starting to question at this point, like, why are they showing Lydia and Aaliyah so much? Like, even if they have this really close bond in the pods, it's not what the show is about. We've seen them snuggled up, talking, like, confiding in each other, just a lot more than we've seen really anyone else in any other seasons. It definitely is all starting to make sense. It feels right now really, really, really calculated and just strange. I know that there's also some things going on online right now about if this was like producer driven or if Lydia like followed Uche onto the show. Like there's some things going on about that.
It gives the ick. It's weird because you think that the producers would have caught it because of the questionnaires and stuff. You know, maybe they don't disclose names. I'm not sure.
That's what I heard in the Out of the Pods podcast with Deep D and Natalie from, is it season 3, I think?
Yes.
Something like that. Anyways, they did a reaction to these episodes as well, so check that out if you would like. They said that when they filled out their paperwork, at least in their season, that they only had to provide the length of the relationship and what year the relationship was in. So it was a 3-year relationship from 2017 to 2020 or whatever. That's all they had to provide. There wasn't any names or anything. So it's possible, I guess, that it was missed. I don't know. Maybe they're not trying to screen for people that know each other. Maybe they just feel like they'll deal with that situation as it comes. I don't know if it's happened before.
So, like, when one of the producers, I guess, came forward and kind of spoke on this, they said that they didn't know. The only times that this has kind of happened is that sometimes girls on the side might know each other or guys on the side might know each other, but usually it hasn't really, like, been an issue where it's interconnected like that. I don't know. Maybe that's true. Maybe they really truly didn't know. I guess when they found out, they did pull them to the side and wanted to take them both out of the whole experiment, and they expressed they had no interest in continuing with each other. So that's why they were allowed to stay, is because they weren't going to talk about it for a while.
Yeah, I think they had to agree not to disclose it so that it didn't affect the rest of the experiment. And I do think that that's really the best option in that situation. If you take both of them out completely, then you might have some people that go home alone that may not have otherwise. Yeah, it's a sticky situation. I don't think there's any good way to deal with it, but
yeah, at some point though they got clearance from the producers or somewhere to disclose it.
Right. Well, I think at some point, like, you can't do this whole thing and not tell them, especially when they're all about to meet each other all together. That would be deceptive and kind of manipulative on the part of the producers at that point. So we'll see what happens. Basically, this is one of the craziest things to happen to Love is Blind, I think. I'm really excited to see like the next batch of episodes too.
Yeah, because we've only actually seen the first 4. So
be back for the 4th episode, the final one of this batch. So join us, and we'll talk to you later, Chick Chatters.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.